Ronan Farrow was just 30 years old when his reporting in The New Yorker won a Pulitzer Prize for investigating Harvey Weinstein, a highly successful Hollywood movie producer and a sexual predator. Farrow still writes for The New Yorker and reports for HBO and does podcasts, all on a wide range of subjects. We sat down with him last week at Bowdoin College, where he was speaking, to talk about some people and subjects he's reported on that are very much back in the news. One of the pieces that you did for The New Yorker about a year and a half ago was on Elon Musk. Elon Musk, of course, very much in the news right now, not simply as one of the key players, but as the key player in the Trump administration, who is looking into dramatic changes in the operations of the federal government. What's your take on what Elon Musk is doing right now?
The thing that struck me while reporting on that story was how many government employees managing really sensitive, for instance, defense portfolios, felt cowed by Elon Musk's power. What is happening right now, embodied in Elon Musk, but I think also more widely in terms of the failures of our systems, is deeply dangerous to all of our basic freedoms and rights.
The subheadline in that piece was something to the effect, and this is pretty accurate: Elon Musk has enormous influence over the federal government. Can he be reined in? For that question to have been asked more than a year and a half ago, it seems kind of quaint at this point.
Well, I think we have the answer now.
While in his early 20s, Ronan Farrow worked for humanitarian organizations and later for the U.S. State Department. He worked on the ground overseas with numerous programs sponsored by the United States Agency for International Development, the foreign aid agency the Trump administration is now dismantling.
So I really saw the inner workings of that agency. And I would be the first to say that's an agency that badly needed reform. And that particularly in conflict zones like that, and particularly with respect to long-term development work as opposed to emergency life-saving humanitarian work, there are real questions about the impact and sustainability of some of those development efforts.
But Farrow says the way to address those flaws is not to take an axe to U.S. foreign aid.
And there's a cruelty and callousness to cutting off these programs in a way that is simply going to kill people. When we talk about those emergency humanitarian programs, especially. The way that we're seeing programs shut down abruptly, sometimes with deadly consequences, is not the way to undertake reform. Even in cases where reform is desperately needed, and perhaps a degree of a bull in a china shop approach could be welcome. There are positive versions of burning things to the ground, and I think it is very clear that this is not one of them. I
assume that you have pretty wide latitude in pursuing the stories that you want. You get to go look into the things that you're interested in. What are you interested in right now? What are the topics that appeal to you?
Well, we're talking about some of them. We are living through a moment where we are seeing a true rise in oligarchy in this country. One of the big costs of these moments is often the free flow of information. It is a classic strongman tactic to demonize the press. There are all sorts of ways in which we in the press have to look at our own failings and the ways in which we contribute to declining trust in institutions in general, in the media specifically. But that does not justify characterizing people trying to get information to voters as the enemy. That comes from people trying to consolidate and hoard power who fear an informed public, because an informed public means a free public. So that's a roundabout way of answering your question by saying I am very preoccupied with the threats to democracy and the threats to the press that we're seeing right now. And I think that makes me feel we're living through a moment where those of us in the press need to fight like hell to get the truth across.
Again, Ronan Farrow spoke recently at Bowdoin College. Among other things, he talked to students there, some of whom want to go into journalism. He said that their idealism and their commitment is needed more than ever before, despite all the problems that now afflict journalism on all levels. Stay with us.